And welcome back to the Touchline Talk Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. All right, so here we go. Barcelona. Most recent series of developments. As of 6:30ish Eastern on Wednesday night, right before I went live here, still had not registered any of their summer signings. That includes Ousmane Dembele and Sergio Roberto, who they gave new contracts to. So they're technically new signings, which means they don't have them eligible either. ESPN is now reporting that if Frank Kessié and Andreas Christensen aren't registered by Saturday for their opener against Rayo Vallecano, they can leave for free because they were free agent signings. There was no transfer fee involved. And the next part of this drama, there are reports out there, you may have seen some of them. Barcelona is trying to void the contract extension signed by Gerard Piqué, Clement Lenglet, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, and Frankie de Jong. This smells an awful lot like trying to find a way to force Frankie de Jong to take a pay cut. We don't know all the details. I'm not here to make any definitive accusations because we just don't know. It would be irresponsible. But it smells fishy with the way Frankie de Jong has been treated in particular. And by the way, as they're trying to convince Frankie de Jong to take this pay cut, they apparently are at least close to lining up deals for Bernardo Silva and Marcos Alonso. Now, it seems that at least the Bernardo Silva deal might be dependent on being able to get de Jong out. But they, if they have their way, are not done spending. They still haven't registered a player. This is just absolutely incredible. And they do have some time to actually get these players registered. Except for if Kessié and Christensen aren't registered by Saturday and decide to leave. Assuming ESPN's reporting is true. But it is just an absolute mess. And now it also seems Chelsea is talking about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. There are also discussions about buying out Memphis Depay and him joining Juventus. So there seems to be at least a little traction on getting some of these players out to finance all of these new signings and actually allow them to be registered by La Liga. This is Wednesday evening. They play Saturday. Robert Lewandowski is not eligible to play in that game right now. They seem confident this is going to get sorted out one way or another. But at what point of this has it really felt like they have a plan other than solving the immediate problem in front of them? Right? It's been this entire saga of basically just putting band-aids over everything without any sort of consideration given to what the next step is. Because Frankie de Jong doesn't want to leave. And he wants the money that, Barcelona contractually agreed to pay him. Now, maybe there was something that happened with this contract extension he signed. Got to at least hear Barcelona's side of the story. But it just never ends. There's always something more going on with this. Just when you think it can't get any crazier, the next level reaches. So we'll see what happens Saturday. Maybe they find a way to get these guys registered at the last moment. Maybe Frank Kessié and Andres Christensen never play for Barcelona. Who knows at this point? But that is what is going on there, and be prepared for the possibility that there are more signings to come. It seems, and it would make sense, they're a little more focused on trying to make sure they got the guys they already did sign, eligible to play for them first. But Fabrizio Romano is basically saying there's another plan in place if they can get the guys out they want to. Whether they actually can, a different story. But there is your Barcelona update. Also want to take some time to talk about the end of this MLS transfer window as we hit the All-Star game and really set the stage for the end of the season. We got fascinating races for the final playoff spots in both conferences involving some of the biggest teams in the league. The LA Galaxy, Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, Toronto. All of a sudden, the Chicago Fire have come to life. It is fascinating what is going on. And then you got LAFC doing LAFC things. And, Austin FC hasn't taken a step back at all. But there's sort of this jumbled mess of teams that haven't made the playoffs before and teams that expect to make it every single season, sort of teetering right around that playoff line, all battling each other. Or the Chicago Fire, who are having this renaissance out of nowhere. And, was Bastian Schweinsteiger on their team the last time they made the playoffs? I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's been a little while for them too. So, some of your deals if you missed some of this and all the excitement of the European season starting. Christian Benteke is a member of DC United. Ricky Puig, yes, Ricky Puig from Barcelona, is now a member of the LA Galaxy. And LAFC decided they needed to upgrade the striker position because it was only providing, a goal every 2 games. So Dennis Bouanga is in as their designated player. I believe I mentioned this on there before, but that was sort of always what John Thornton, their general manager, was saying, was we intend to fill this designated player spot with a striker by the end of the transfer window. Never promised they were going to do it, but there was absolutely a plan in place and targets they were going after. So you're adding a DP to this attack that is already loaded. So those were some of the bigger deals, which then mean some of the other signings get swept under the rug. And I want to talk about these for a second and then make the bigger point. One of them is Alessandro Schwarf. Schaff. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Alessandro Schaff is an Austrian international with 32 caps, 143 appearances in the Bundesliga, and appearances in the Champions League. He now plays for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And nobody seemed to bat an eye when this deal got made. Why? Because we were talking about Ricky Puig and LAFC's designated player striker spot and Christian Benteke. Carlos Acapo started 21 times in La Liga last season. San Jose Earthquakes got him on a free transfer. And again, these are the Whitecaps and the Earthquakes, 2 of the teams near the bottom of the Western Conference. This transfer window for Major League Soccer, and I wrote about this in my 5 things from the week, absolutely leveled up during this transfer window. It is a different conversation about this league now. And it's not because Gareth Bale came. It's because going from, Federico Bernardeschi all the way up, and even Eric Tommy in Kansas City, another Bundesliga veteran, for a Kansas City team that is arguably the worst in the league and is not going anywhere. Again, just think about the credentials I just read off and the players these teams joined. Not Ricky Puig and Dennis Bouanga, but Alessandro Schaff and Carlos Acapo. These are teams either somewhat in the playoff conversation or nowhere close. signing guys with 32 caps for a good European country in Austria. Or, a regular starter in La Liga last season. Since when are these non-stories? But it's just the reality of what this league has become. Right? 5 years ago, you get a guy like that, the entire league is jumping up and down. And he's not playing in Vancouver or San Jose. He's playing in LA, he's playing in New York, maybe Chicago. Maybe Seattle's able to get him, It is incredible how quickly this has turned. And the other reason I see this as a definitive leveling up point is there are sort of steps in this progression to becoming one of the best leagues in the world, as in somewhere competitive, maybe not with the big five in Europe, but on that next level, your Eredivisie, those kind of leagues. The first step was, okay, we got to get people interested in this league, which means you go get your David Beckhams, your Kakas, whoever it might be. Right. You embrace the retirement league aspect of this to get the big names. Over time, you got to start moving away from that, which this league very much has. There's always going to be a place for that player, but that player is no longer guaranteed to be a home run and hasn't for a few years now. Zlatan is Zlatan, but even going back to Pirlo and Lampard when they came, right, that didn't work at all. So what did you see the next evolution? Okay, the next evolution is we need to get involved in the global market. Prove that we can be a pathway for players to develop and then succeed in Europe. This is where what Atlanta United did comes into play. This is where selling Alphonso Davies to Bayern Munich and then having him turn into arguably the best left back in the world, or at least one of the top three, comes into play. This is where having guys from MLS academies, Brendan Aronson, you can even go to, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna. Of course, they didn't actually play in MLS, but they came through MLS academies. And you can go down the line, right? There are all kinds of guys coming out of MLS academies that are now going to Europe. That's where that part of this comes into play. You look at a Diego Rossi, you look at a Miguel Almiron as two examples of, right, that second step toward becoming one of the best leagues in the world. Is you've got to get involved in the global market, and the academies are part of this too, of sort of the final step of that part of the equation is, can we get European teams to trust that the players we are sending them are ready to contribute, or, in a position to contribute when the timing is right? You're not guaranteeing that every single 18-year-old who goes over is immediately going to be ready. But there is very much this trust that is growing when guys come out of MLS. What Brendan Aronson is doing is helping. You can go down the list. There are so many guys at this point. But it is no longer kind of this stigma from a scouting standpoint. The third part of this, which is where MLS is now, it sort of coincided with, now you've got a really good reputation where, teams are coming after Jesus Ferreira, they're coming after Ricardo Pepi. Paxton Aronson has barely started his MLS career, and you're already talking about, teams being interested in him in Europe. Now you've got the academy part going. Can you turn the players, at least some of the players you are bringing in, from investments, which is very much what we have seen in some of these bigger signings that are super young, right? Your Diego Rossi's and Miguel Almirons. The idea was always get them in, let them thrive, and then go sell them for a massive profit. From day one, that was the plan. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the next step is, can you go from investments to landing players at that level or at a comparable level in their primes? And that is what happened this transfer window, right? Most of these guys are in their late 20s. If you throw in Alonso Insigne, Christian Benteke, okay, early 30s. But all these guys are approaching in or on the back part, but still within the window of their prime. This is just not these. Toronto signed not one but two Italian internationals who were on the field in the Euro 2020 final, last summer, who are in their primes. They're not 35. This is a completely new world for Major League Soccer, which is why I wanted to highlight so much that the pedigree and the track records I was listing off. Vancouver Whitecaps, San Jose Earthquakes signed those players. So you're always going to have the advantages of the biggest clubs, right? Ricky Puig was not going to probably be going to Orlando or Dallas or Chicago. I mean, Chicago got Schweinsteiger and Shaqiri. But I'm just throwing out teams. He was good. He's got the Barcelona background. He was probably going to a bigger club. There's always going to be a spot for Gareth. Gareth Bale is not going to go play in Houston. But you saw everything this transfer window. You saw Gareth Bale still want to come here. You saw Wayne Rooney turn down coaching jobs in Europe to come back to DC United. And you saw this flurry of proven European guys who are choosing to come to Major League Soccer. And Cucho Hernandez falls into this category too. This is not something that used to happen consistently. And all of a sudden, just about every team in the league is capable of pulling off a signing like this. These are established, Bundesliga, Premier League, La Liga players. No, they're not the top players on their teams. But it is incredible how far this league has come in such a short span of time when it comes to the quality of player they're acquiring. It was already dead, but if anybody is still out there talking about this being a retirement league and the talent level not being good enough, you're not doing the research. You don't know this league well enough. You don't know the players in this league. The talent is getting there. It's not there yet, but we are approaching the where does MLS rank in the list of leagues in the world outside the Big Five conversation. We are getting close. And this transfer window is proof of that and a reminder of just how much sway this league now holds. Players want to come here. And I think players are sort of starting to feel comfortable with the idea that it's not going to sacrifice your national team career. Because that was a major concern. Look at what happened to Sebastian Giovinco. He's another good example, right? Toronto got him because it's Toronto. And no, not all these guys are Giovinco. I mean, Giovinco is one of the best players to ever kick a ball in Major League Soccer. But it's the whole league getting guys in that ballpark now. It's not a huge deal when somebody signs somebody with 100 Bundesliga appearances or 100 La Liga appearances, because it's happening all over the place. And I hadn't gotten to talk about that, so I wanted to highlight it because it's going to make this MLS Cup and these playoffs even more interesting, but also it is setting the stage for the next era of Major League Soccer, because this is only going to continue happening. And you're only going to find more incredibly gifted players coming out of MLS academies and going to Europe. Gianluca Busio is another good example. this is not going backwards. This is only going to continue to go forwards, and you're only going to see more money being able to be poured into this league because of the players you're selling, because their values are only going to go up, and the ability to acquire higher level players to where you're going to look up one day and realize Major League Soccer is not that far behind the Eredivisie. Is anybody on Ajax's level? No. No. We're not there yet, like I said. But if you want to know what it looks like to slowly but surely build yourself up and get into that conversation, look at the evolution of transfers in and out of Major League Soccer. It tells a very clear story with a very clear trajectory. And that arrow is pointing all the way up. This is only going to get better and better and better.